Business with a servant's heart. Welcome to the podcast. Inspiration, motivation takes. Listen to the podcast. We're all about to talk about life. Our guests will share their life story. We want you to success in life and business. We're ready and we will start shortly. We're gonna talk about life. We're going to speak on business. You're gonna shine bright. We are going to witness. Business with a servant's heart. With hosts Steve, Ramona, and Ray. Inspiration, education talks. Listen to the podcast. Steve, Ramona.
Welcome, everyone, to Doing Business with a Servant's Heart podcast. I'm your host, Steve Ramona. I am so thrilled to have you join us today. This podcast is dedicated to exploring the idea of doing business and working your life with a servant's heart. With doing that, you're going to make an impact and a change in your world. We also dedicated and created this show to motivate you, inspire you, and educate you with my incredible guests that I have, especially the one I have today. With that being said, I want you to think about how you're going to serve yourself and serve others today, and what impact you create today. That's your call to action. Not a lot of podcasts do that, but I know if you do that, I do it almost every day, you will make a difference. And you know what? You're going to feel better. I call it Christmas every day. Imagine getting a gift every day from Christmas. And today's episode is proudly sponsored by an incredible partner, Pantheon Alliance. Would you like to be part of an exclusive community of thought leaders who want to impact and change the world? If you want to be part of this community or learn more, just reach out to me and I'll get you all the information on Pantheon Alliance. Now, impact and change, I said a lot in that monologue. Well, sustainability, tech, energy, we just talked about, that is a big thing here. And you know what's fun about doing these podcasts? Sometimes your guest is probably 15 minutes away from me. He happens to be here speaking and he's down the road. We're going to try to connect in person, but if not, when he's back, we'll connect. But I'm excited because sustainability is a topic after this election, but also it needs to be taken care of, and really not for us, but for our grandchildren, great-grandchildren, and great-great-grandchildren. What are we going to leave them? With that being said, Andy, I want to welcome you to the show.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much, Steve.
I use thought leader, but I think Changemaker is real similar. They kind of are sisters. What does Changemaker mean, and what's so important about that?
Absolutely, Steve. So for me, there are three main things I see as a change maker. First of all, connecting the dots before it happens is extremely crucial to be a change maker. Everybody will connect the dots after things happen. But being a change maker, you have to connect the dots before it happens. And you can, in bracket, you can use the term vision. That's a vision, or what you see, like how does the future looks like. The second change maker agent, I feel, is absolutely have a high quotient of empathy. Very important to have empathy to drive change and enable change, and taking the first point of how change would look like in various situations. So I'm building a freeway in a third world country. Will that be a freeway? Will that bring a change? Versus I'm building a freeway in a first world country, how that will impact. A simple business model, and which generates local business, but that change adoption will be very important. So basically, that's like empathy will be a very high quotient. And when I say empathy, I'm not saying not only one-on-one empathy, it's about business empathy, regional empathy, really appreciating where the ecosystem is driving for a better tomorrow. The third thing that when I say change maker or change, I look for is if the change is implementable, something that you can implement the change and you delivered that from dream to innovation to implementation. So that is very important. So these are the three main points I wanted to keep when I talk about change. It's about connecting the dots before it happens, have high quotient of empathy, whatever you're doing, business, one-on-one conversation. And third is it is implementable. That is very, very important. That's only when the change will be implemented.
Magic word is empathy. Doing business with a servant's heart, you can't be a servant without empathy. It just doesn't work. It's oil and water. It just breaks apart and separates. I love that you said that. So what I'm hearing from you, which I love, is Steve Ramona has a vision. With that vision, and understand what change you're going to make. Because if I build something everybody else has, I've not made a change. Is that what you're saying about a change maker?
Absolutely. So Changemaker is something for me, it is absolutely has to be delivered. If it
Yeah.
is not delivered, then you can think about change and making a change in any part of our life, but it has to be delivered. It has to be implemented.
So speaking of change maker, we talked about before the show, I call it the green room, which is fun saying that. There's two things that need to change that you're working on and you think are important. What are those and why are you working on them?
So my career has gone through, uh, I would say, minimal change of what I anchored. It's called supply chain. So my career has
Mm.
been born and grown and being developed around supply chain. But supply chain is a big word. It has a quotient of manufacturing in it, a portion of data into it, a portion of artificial intelligence into it. And there's a big portion of what I call sustainable value chain. And the word that I would like to say, I think we all have heard it's sustainability, right? It's about how do you make the supply chain more sustainable? And it's not only from one set of thought process. It is around I'm a driver. I'm driving from point A to point B. I am actually shipping med devices product. I'm not only responsible to have the products to the hospital location safely and on time, but I also have to know that how much carbon I'm emitting because that's actually working against the environment and it's working against uh, the overall, which we call carbon offsetting or carbon management. How a uh, driver has to understand what his or her their job is, delivering the product, but also delivering the product with a more greener environment. So let's take this as an example in supply chain, how it goes back from a driver on field or in field back to the enterprise corporate head center headquarters, where this has been driven from the top. So supply chain is huge. So that's where definitely I'm also piecemealing it and trying to focus on what are the areas we can drive. The example I gave is logistics, manufacturing, new product introduction. Because when the product is designed, I need to know that when this gets implemented, how much carbon it will be emitting and how damage it will do, what's the waste would look like, how the landfill regulations would look like, how my overall quality of the product will be impacted if it gets more heat dissipated than less, like big servers from, let's say, IBM, Hewlett Packard. We're in Santa Clara. We can talk about high tech a little bit. So, so the all elements of uh, the supply chain embedded with greener quotient. So that's one area, along with supply chain and sustainability, two areas that, of course, with data and AI and a few other things that I am focusing on to drive change from not only from business, but also to make the place a better place to live. So for me, it is much more mission driven. So for mission driven, it's purpose driven. So that's where I see supply chain.
How much does tech play a role in this?
How much, which one?
In the supply chain, sustainability. I've talked to others that tech could be a big player in this. What do you think?
Oh, tech. Okay. So there is transformation will only happen when technology plays a role. And technology has to be, there are three components to this. First of all, the question I always ask in transformation agenda that your business has a way to run, you have your own niche. Are you ready to make a change when we bring technology? When the answer is yes, it's a different way of looking into business transformation. But when the answer is no, it's a different way of enablement of technology. But look, I am running a very profitable business. I want to bring technology, okay? But I don't want to change my business process. The other leader can say, look, I'm going to bring technology and I'm going to change business process, right? Another set of leaders will say that, look, when I implement technology, I need to know what's happening inside in the black box. Some leaders will say, you know what, it's for me, it's input and output. I don't worry about the automation part. Just give me what I need. So all these empathies are very important when you're driving technology. To answer your question, without technology, business is impossible to run. That's the reason I'm very close to business as well as technology. And for me, technological innovation will play a big role in business transformation. And that's where I feel, I mean, as you know, that I have invented a platform where drive a lot of risk management solutions, scenario building solutions, mainly from environmental, social governance perspective. It brings a lot of strength for a company to drive decisions and change when technology is there.
Yeah, it's building your own is great because that's making a change. You're like, hey, something has to change. I'm just going to build it myself. And I love that you did, because you're following your mission, your vision, your purpose. Now, we talked about sustainability with energy, but sustainability is in a number of industries like food. Talk about the different areas it hits.
Fantastic question. Seems like it's a one size fit all, but it's not. So, look, there are three things which are very important to realize here again. One is what framework I will be using. The framework is generally standardized. For example, Task Force Climate Financial Disclosure, right? Let's take an example of that. It's pretty standardized, right? But there are nuances by vertical. So when I'm talking about energy vertical versus food and waste vertical, industry vertical, I mean, it's very different. So managing sustainability between, let's say, a biodiversified solution, for example, a high-tech company wants to build its data center underneath the ocean, Indian Ocean or Pacific Ocean, how that will impact the flora and fauna underneath the water bed, on the water bed, underneath the sea level, versus I want to move from a palm oil to a vegetable oil because I want to make sure I stop cutting down forests, right? So the impacts are different, but from that CPG, consumer packaged goods company who uses palm oil, now they will be using vegetable oils, hopefully. And then a high-tech company driving data centers beneath the sea level. And when the heat dissipated from the data centers, the metals, how that will be not impacting the flora and fauna, and how this heat will be reused to provide energy above the sea level. Two different examples, right? But see the correlation of making the place a better place to live, making the earth a better place to live, and the huge impact on the biodiversity. So yeah, one is a high-tech example, one is a consumer packaged goods example, and I feel that it's very different, but the mission is same. And all roads will lead to Rome, and we'll have a better place to live.
It's a brilliant, brilliant story that you just told, because, and I'll get into business, but I want to point out, audience, and I just learned this, there are companies that have server farms under the ocean. They have built, right? There's server farms under the ocean right now as we speak, correct?
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
It's powerful. And that tells us our environment and our earth, we're running out of land and we got to go into the ocean. We won't get into that right now. So from this perspective now, business owners, I know people listening or people I talk to go, hey, I want to be sustainable. What do you think the steps they need to do to get closer to more sustainability?
A great question. one step at a time. First of all, looking into the business that we all have, you have within your four walls, and looking into the business that you're doing with your suppliers, with your distributors, with your logistics partners, carriers, and then affecting their models to be to make the entire value chain. So the first is, I call it a burn, the term that we use. It's called scope one, which is within the business that I'm running, and the scope two, whatever we are using, but I'm not manufacturing, I'm buying it, electricity or the employees who are using computers and others. So really looking into where your earning per share will be affected based on manufacturing, water usage, uh, waste management, landfill regulations within your four walls. Very important to see that, how it's impacting your cash flow, income statement, balance sheet, and earning per share. Because at the end of the day, which I do, we will do better as business leaders, is connecting this into balance sheet, income statement, cash flow, and also tie these to corporate KPIs. I'm a VP of supply chain. Out of 4 KPIs, I should have 1 on sustainability, and that makes a better practice.
Yeah.
So the first step we have to do as an organization. Second, once we establish this model, as we practice, we preach to suppliers, distributors, and others. Third, to establish this, enable some energy friendly automation, right? So there's a 3-step you have to take. Look into your own house, see how the neighbors are doing, and while doing those 2, enable with energy friendly technology.
ROI, bottom line, that's all a lot of business owners should worry about. Not always, but when I've talked to some businesses, and I'm sure they're thinking about, hey, you know what, Andy, it sounds wonderful, I want to do it, but I don't want to start losing money.
Great question again, or rhetoric again, right? I would say that if you want to do business across countries, especially in Europe, or especially you want to do business, even shipping, let's say, hazardous material, you do not want to lose your profitable money in carbon tax. You don't want to lose um, your money on paying something which you haven't run this as ethically as needed. You don't want to lose your EV vehicle revenue because you have bought lithium from a mine where child slavery happens. Does it really matter when I go to bed that I sold my 10 cars? Who cares where the lithium has come from, right? So look, at the end of the day, it is about how it's being perceived in the market, where when we started the conversation, I talked about 3 things. The one thing as a change maker is empathy, right? Uh, when I go inside in a automotive showroom, I look for an electric vehicle. I look for everything, their entire supply chain. How many people will do that? Very few people will do that, right? But I'm not saying that it's something I'm doing special, but it's just how I'm trained in my head.
Right.
So, but yeah, I mean, if I sell 10 vehicles where the lithium has come from a mine where child slavery happens, my revenue will still go up. But what will happen with that, as you get into the supply chain in a long-term thing, A, you will lose consumers. B, what will happen is the quality of that whole value chain will be coming below par, because once you do not have a conducive supply chain, you will lose quality. You will lose quality because quality and safety is a very important component of a product. And safety is not about the end product. It's about who are generating the raw materials. Are they also working in an environment which is safe? So all these matters from various quotients of the end product coming out, and all these things impact from a better outcome. So one thing that I would like to see that all of us, environmental improvements are more measurable now. Governance improvements have been always there because GXP, good manufacturing practice, good commercial practice, good supply chain practice has always been there. S, which is social within the value chain, I am very vocal in this that I can take a product and tie the social element into earning per share or cash flow statements. And I'll give you one more example, and then I'll give it back to you. There is a large pharmaceutical company. They actually bought wearables for the manufacturing people who actually produce the drugs. Within 90 days, some of the workers, specifically women workers, they started falling sick. And their cycles got affected. And the labor union actually reported back to the leadership and supply chain that, look, something is wrong with the wearables. In summary, when the wearables are bought in to make more automation, there's some radioactive materials which was affecting the cycles of the feminine cycles, right?
Wow.
Wouldn't be something as a leader I should consider this so that my workers are safe? When I do not have a diversified team, if it's a team without diversity, measure the success of the project. With a diversified team, measure the success of the project, benchmark before and after, and see the quotient, how it improves or it decreases from your revenue generated products or projects. I have done programs where diversified portfolio has given more revenue generated projects for a company. And that's where S can be tied to bottom line and top line. So yes, it's all about measure at the end. It's all about profitability at the end. It's all about bottom line at the end. But as a leader, as a change maker, my 2 cents would be keep a KPI for every leader to implement this. See that how your supply chain is improving. See the adoption, the consumer behavior adoption. Run analytics, okay, energy friendly analytics. And third is making sure that you're respecting not only E and G, also respect S, social.
I like that because your exam, we're coming to the end here, but I want to say a car dealership can be sustainably friendly or not. The person coming buying the car, they don't know. They'll never know. So it's got to be up to the leaders of that business to go, we want to do the right thing. I think that's part of the situation is I can do it or not. It's not going to affect it. And we shouldn't always think about our customers. They're important, but indirectly you're helping your customers when you do exactly that. Before we get close here, you're so passionate about this. You keynote speak around the world about this, the country and maybe around the world. And your book, talk about those two and how it gets your passion out there.
Absolutely. Thanks, Steve. So first of all, I believe in that dot. The dot has 4 things. It's a dot where I am wanting to make an impact with my sustainability journey. That's my career. That's where I earn my bread and butter. Second is I teach. I want to touch people with my thoughts. I'm not saying I'm right or wrong, but that's a share that I can do. Third is I run a nonprofit organization where I'm touching vulnerable women and kids, where to make them a better world to live for. And the fourth is my movement with my writing, which is also I'm touching million people through the reading, right? If you really see all the 4 things I talked about, there's only one theme, that is leaving back a legacy / give back / movement. For me, that's a dot. So I live for the dot, and that's something I will say that it's a very big mission for me, and I will keep working on that dot.
Yeah, it's powerful. So reach out, We'll have information, his website, and he'll give that to us in a second. Let's have a little game and a little improv here while we finish. We talked about such serious stuff, which is very, very important. But let's get to know Andy a little bit more. So you have a reservation at a restaurant, table of 4. You sit obviously in one of the chairs. Who do you invite, dead or alive? Why would you invite them, and what food would you order?
Oh my goodness, that's a great question. So I have 3 more seats left, right?
3 more seats, yes.
So I'm going to invite Nelson Mandela.
Ooh,
Okay. I'm going to invite um I really have followed him as a leader, so I will invite Barack Obama,
yep.
and I will invite Alex Pujol, the baseball player, right? From yeah.
One of my favorite players.
Yeah, so
Louis Pujol, or
uh,
from the St. Louis Cardinals you're talking about,
yeah,
right?
yes. Maybe yeah. I think
Albert Pujols.
Albert
That's
Pujol,
it.
right?
I
So
should know.
I'm
I'm a
missing
big
him. So,
baseball. Yeah. Well,
yeah. So if you really see the connects, they
oh yeah.
have all a mission, right? The food I will order is I will start with if they are okay with it. Of course, I will ask all of them since you said dead or alive, right? I will order to start. I really want to order a nice eco-friendly wine. I love Pinot Noir.
Mm.
I will do a toast. I want to have those Pinot Noirs built in Oregon, where there are grapes which actually droops down when the temperature goes up and again, like flourish when the temperature goes down. They're very environment friendly grapes in Oregon. And then I'm going to have some nuts with it, which is healthy because nuts are really good carbohydrate. Then we will order some vegetables and maybe fish, if that's okay. I don't mean to kill fish, but I love benzino.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah.
white fish, and then we'll finish off with a nice maybe a port wine, and we'll converse on 3 or 4 topics. Okay, one is how 2101 looks like. We'll talk about
Mm.
the next generation's empathy, not to be how to balance between digital and non-digital. And the third thing we'll talk about that how do we make sure that um, we rewrite, we actually update the Paris Agreement where 1.5 degrees has already come down at that time, and really look for like living in have some better place, not only on Earth, but maybe have a life in Mars. So that's something 2101 how I look like. So that's my guests, and that's my menu, and that's the 3 other seats who will be taking.
Well, since they're all alive, I'm going to invite them. So we'll set up the dinner. No, I'm kidding. I wish I could do that. That's my goals in Vegas, because I'd love to be at that table too. The conversation.
But I actually apologize to the listeners here that it doesn't have a diversified portfolio, but I could if I had a few others. And sorry, I just came from inside.
Yeah, that's all right.
I would love to invite Michelle Obama as well. So
Yeah. Yeah.
if I have one more seat. So,
no
but
politics.
again,
Yeah. Politics aside, those are 4 leaders, because Albert's been a leader in Puerto Rico where he grew up. He does a lot of stuff out there environmentally to help his country, which I love. This has been an incredible show, Andy. I've learned a lot more about sustainability. How can, and I'm sure the audience has as well, how can they find you and support you?
So yeah, absolutely. So do visit my LinkedIn. If you really put Honorban Bhattacharya blank space Duke Duke, you will find me. I'm a Duke grad. So it's easy to find. Write to me, Honorbon, my first name, at amploglobal.com, and love to stay connected.
That's great. I'll have the link for both of those in the newsletter, in the podcast notes. Thank you again, Andy. I really appreciate that. And here's the call to action. I do one before and after the show. You know, somebody that's talking about sustainability at all, if they mention it, take this link and share it with them. Go, hey, I just listened to Andy. He is pretty awesome about sustainability, his passion. And in 10 to 15 minutes, you've helped. This is how you can serve your friends and family or people you meet. I do this all the time. Hey, check this link out. I think you'd really connect with this person. It's a powerful tool. I don't hear a lot of people talking about. Maybe they are, but using this to serve others is the power of this, because Andy knows his stuff. He just told us in the last 15 minutes. He's an expert. So why not share an expert so he can help others like he wants to do? And with that being said, me and Andy want to thank you all so much for watching and listening to this podcast. And we definitely hope to see you on the next episode of Doing Business with a Servant's Heart. Have a great day, everyone.